What's going on? Welcome to another episode of State of the Build here on the Peak Auto YouTube channel. I am your host, Emily Reeves, and this episode's going to be fun. However, I have no idea what car we're covering. We have our friend Jakub from the Straight Pipes, and I'm getting ready to shoot him a text and be like, so, what are we going to talk about? Because I don't know, and that's a really fun surprise sort of vibe because Jakub is clearly a full-on car nerd, and I love their style. Their videos are so fun, so I can't wait to hit Jakub up and see what he's got going on in the shop. We'll have Yuri on as well, but we're going to start with Jakub, and so let's shoot him a text. What's going on, Jakub? Dude, thank you so much for taking the time to toss videos back and forth with me today. I was just telling everybody that I don't even know what car we're going to be talking about. Usually I will figure that out with the person that we're having on, but I'm like, he's going to be talking about something cool, so surprise us. What are we going to be hearing about today?
Hey Emily, thanks for having me on the Peak channel to talk about all three of my orange Fords. Some people think that I have a thing for Fords. I don't know where they got that impression. If you don't know who I am, I'm Jakub from the Straight Pipes. Normally we review cars, but these are actually all three of my personal vehicles. So, Emily, tell me what you want to talk about first.
Dude, your garage is beautiful and clean and highly uncluttered, which I cannot relate to. Oh my gosh, the Raptor's gorgeous. The Fiesta looks like a fun little zip around car, but the Fox Body, that's really what I want to hear about. I see those wheels look kind of, like they might imply that she's sort of a racer. Let's hear about that one.
Ooh, you notice these meats out back. Yeah, this is actually the one I want to talk about the most today. I've already taken the liberty of popping the hood, but I do want to say thank you for complimenting this garage. I've never had anything like this in my life. I just got this. I'm used to having my cars all outside in separate locations and storage units and barely being able to access them. So thank you everyone for enabling me to actually be able to have something like this for the first time in my life. We'll talk about the Raptor after, talk about the Fiesta after. They're both molten orange, and this one is now molten orange. If you can believe it, this was actually not molten orange because it never came in that color, and this was what it originally looked like. So I've gone through a very painstaking process of restoring it. So there's a lot going on here with the engine, with the interior, with the suspension. Emily, you tell me what you want to get to next. Here's a little teaser of the interior. Yeah, those are digital gauges thanks to Holly. But, I kind of want to talk about this engine.
Oh my heavens, your car is so clean. Holy moly, I can tell that you've put a ton of work into her. Oh my gosh. Okay, so the peep of the interior, wow, those gauges look insane. I can't wait to cover those, but since you're at the engine bay, let's hear about it. I see that trick flow intake and it looks like your valve covers don't look factory. Tell me, what else do we got to work with there?
Yeah, there's a lot of fun stuff in there, but I should also preface this by saying this entire car was purchased for $5,000 in somewhat running condition, very rusted with bald tires, but it had a lot of problems, and this now probably has closer to, I don't know, $50,000 into it. Hopefully my wife isn't watching. Okay, let's get to the fun stuff. So thank you so much to Summit Racing for providing a lot of these engine parts, starting with the Trick Flow upper intake. That's the track heat version. We also have the Trick Flow valve covers. We're running 24-pound injectors. Everything from the top end was done, so everything basically except the pistons. We are now running BBK 70 mil throttle body. We had to convert to a GM idle air control valve, which plays very nicely with the Holly system, which by the way is a standalone ECU that is plug and play with this whole system, because that's the Terminator X system that also runs with these Holly dual sync distributor. We converted to an electric fan with aluminum rad. And here's a fun one since we're on the Peak channel. Let's take a little zoom in over here. Oh, there we go. See that shiny little clamp right there? Yeah, that's because it was leaking coolant from my water pump. So I fixed that and there's no more leaks, as you can see on my perfect cardboard, which was my sample. So there's your free shout out, Peak, on the Peak channel. We're also running a custom cold air intake. We've got Flowtech headers, and they are long tubes, which by the way sound amazing, with the E303 Ford Racing cam. So it's a pretty classic setup that sounds pretty damn good, and the straight pipes isn't exactly just a channel name, let's put it that way. Hopefully I'll start this up at the end of the video because for that reason, if I start it up now, I may not make it to the end of the video. We also have a line lock right here. That's for doing burnouts, yep. Line locks up the front tires and does big smoky burnouts outside. And let's take a listen to the outside and look at the inside in a second, Emily.
Oh man, those 5.0s sound so good to me. You know, I was just trying to think back. I think this is like the maybe 7th or 28th episode of this series, and I'm not sure we've ever had a car crank up and run. So you might be the first, and in my opinion, a 5.0 cranking up with straight pipes, that's a pretty great first one to have on the series. Can't wait to hear the cam chop also. I love the fact that you've got a line lock because that means gnarly burnouts. I did terrible burnouts in my GTO before I installed the line lock, and I was like, oh, this is how people do really good burnouts. So is the car a standard then? You banging gears in that thing, or is it an automatic? I think you just do a line lock on a standard, right? And it's like a trans brake on an automatic. You could educate me here. You'll touch on that, I'm sure, coming up. But yeah, let's move to the interior because that digital gauge setup looked gnarly.
Yes, line lock is kind of why you buy a Mustang or any rear-wheel drive car. I upgraded it to a Hurst version, which plays nicely with my Hurst shifter. Yeah, that's right, it's a standard. Come on, I couldn't get this in automatic, Emily. That's pretty much why I bought the car. I get it, people like it for drag racing. Okay, here's my line lock, which illuminates that button. Burnout, burnout, burnout. Yeah, it's that simple. Okay, so let's talk about these gauges. Now, I did customize them. This is the Holley Digital Dash, which plays very, very nicely. It's all plug and play with the Terminator system. So, Terminator X system. So I customized all of this to have the straight pipes logo. This is my gauge cluster that is inspired by the Lexus LFA. Yeah, you're kind of wondering why that's in a Ford, so am I, but I just like how it's very, very crystal clear. And you can see that it's kind of cold outside right now. There's proof that I'm in Canada. So I customized it to all have all my important stuff. Here's my speed, and you can also just do whatever the heck you want with this. So here's some of the pre-configured systems, and you literally change whatever you want. You can design your own. So I actually designed mine in Photoshop and then brought it in here and then added all the gauges to it. Really cool system, works very, very well. Here's the actual Terminator X little system that comes with the ECU, which, by the way, the ECU is just under the passenger seat. Oh, don't worry about that. That's my last bill. You don't want to look at that. So you can also play with this and customize everything in here and look at basically everything here, your vitals, air fuel ratio. It's a fantastic system. You can even run it by itself. It's self-learning. This does have a rough tune on it right now, just for until the spring, but for now, I mean, it's running great. So I would highly recommend this system.
I love where you have your button located and then your light that illuminates. Burnout, burnout. That's awesome. That gauge cluster is so beautiful in there. I love the way it's so customizable. That's really, really neat. We've got a Holley sniper system on our Bronco and it worked great. Self-learning, of course, but we have never installed anything like a Terminator X that's complex like that. Well, complex yet, I mean, I know that their systems are amazing to install and the self-learning feature of it is super badass. So someday we will. Dang. Okay, so let's move on to suspension on this car. What is she packing in that arena? Is it for the track? Is it for handling on the street? Just kind of a combination deal? What's the story there?
Yes, let's get to these Bilsteins. But first, if you needed some more proof that this was a project car, random parts on the back. I don't have a headliner. I actually ordered one, but it's about 14 weeks out. Nothing really works in here, but you know, it looks good from the outside. Okay, suspension. So we are running Bilstein shocks with iBox springs, the Pro versions, nothing too crazy, but it works really, really well in this application. This is not gonna be a drag car, but I'm definitely gonna use it for drag racing, but it's gonna be mostly a street car. So it lowers it about 1 inch, and I think it's just the perfect amount. So putting all that stuff together is actually Maximum Motorsports. If we can see it under here. So we did the lower control arms and the upper control arms, which actually allow you to delete the quad shocks, because Fox bodies had a really weird thing where they had 2 shocks per corner in the back to actually prevent wheel hop. So we actually upgraded that with modern suspension, because you don't really need to do that anymore. So we were able to delete that, and you get more clearance for tires, so you can fit some bigger meats back there. Continental is a sponsor of ours, but Continental owns Hoosier, as you know. So I'm running these on some 15-inch weld drag lights for that classic drag look. And same thing up front, Bilsteins matching, and Maximum Motorsports caster camber plates, putting it all together so we can actually have a proper alignment. So here's the stance. Love it. Ooh.
Well, I don't want to play favorites, but I love your Fox body. Let's touch on your other 2 vehicles. The Fiesta is a super fun little car to drive, I'm sure. And the Raptor, those are pretty sick trucks as far as performance. Straight from the factory. I really like them. So yeah, let's hop over to those real quick and get the rundown on those. I love this shop tour. This is awesome. I'm a huge fan of that 5.0. She's so good.
And don't worry, I promise we'll start this one up at the end, because it's got a valved exhaust. Don't worry, I only press the on button so that it's always loud. Okay, so let's talk about the Fiesta. Fiesta ST. Oh, by the way, that's a 1987. I should have mentioned that. This is a 2013, first year of this car. We've got 50 and 52 wheels, and we've got Continental Viking Contact 7s. Fantastic in the winter. So this has been upgraded to Cobb Stage 3. This is actually the world's first, when Cobb sent it to me, carbon fiber intake. This is so light. The entire thing is carbon fiber all the way to the back, if you can see it back there. It's a super high quality system. We also did the Cobb front mount intercooler, so we can get some more air in there. And that's really it. Oh, and we did the downpipe for the turbo. And then out back, we've got the exhaust. So we got those nice Cobb tips right here, which are a little bit rusty just because it's winter outside and our roads get salted. It sounds really good. I've also got a blow-off valve on it. This thing is a weapon, like absolute weapon in here. Love driving this thing. Got the Cobb access port, pro clip mount. Man, this thing just rips. Okay, Raptor. I bought this thing for dirt cheap, by the way. This one was about $10,000 Canadian. And this one, when I bought it, was about $17,000 Canadian, which made it the cheapest and highest mileage one in the world at the time that I bought it, because it actually had 350,000 kilometers on it. So I've actually upgraded some things on it. First thing I did, Corsa exhaust. It's so loud and it's so perfect. And then we got the Continental Terrain Contact ATs on there with the Blackhorn off-road wheels. I actually had to recently replace all the shocks because these are Fox shocks, but they're factory replacements. They're supposed to be done every 150,000 kilometers or something like that. And we did the upper control arms at the same time. And I had to upgrade to Geyser springs, which gives it a nice, very clean stance. And also got a nice tonneau cover up here, roll up one, and whoop, there you go, Sentry CT. Factory graphics. I think this thing just looks amazing. Oh, I should also mention these headlights, which are my favorite. So Raptor Retrofit custom made these for me. Got the SVT logo right there in the reflector. Love it, because they're projectors where they weren't before. So yeah, that's a rundown of all my cars. I love all these cars, and I'm looking forward to driving this one so much next year.
Dude, I love the truck, and the Fiesta is so sporty and cool too. And now the moment we've all been waiting for, let's hear the Mustang crank up, because that is going to be really sweet. Thank you so much for taking the time to toss videos back and forth with me. This has been awesome.
So a huge thank you to all the sponsors and partners who made all of these builds possible. I literally could not have done it without all of your help. So thank you so much for supporting all this. I will be doing a full build video on this on the Straight Pipes YouTube channel, probably in the spring, when I can finally drive it on the streets and take it to the drag strip and install everything else and finally get a dyno tune. Let's fire this thing up so we can take a listen. This is what I was trying to avoid. Sounds much better now that it's warming up and the chop's coming in. It's cold. Ah! Woo! God, that's loud and smelly. Just the way I like it.
Oh, dude, she sounds so good. Yeah, you definitely want to open the windows and garage doors to let that fresh air in. So awesome, man. I love it.
Thank you so much, Emily, for having me on Peak State of the Build so I can talk about all my cars. Anytime anyone asks me to talk about my cars, I'm going to take that as an open invitation because I love talking about my cars.
Isn't the car fam the best? You can be literally across the country and connected because of how much we love our cars. It's just awesome. Thank you guys so much for watching. We appreciate y'all so much. Every like and comment and subscription counts to us, and we are so glad you're here. Be sure to leave a comment as to what you thought about this episode, and we look forward to seeing y'all on the next one. Happy New Year!